Okay, Cody could not remember who prayed last. Does anybody want to volunteer to pray tonight? Cody, you want to pray for us?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us gather here in this nice building, in this community. Thank you for everything that you do for us each day that we don't realize. Just be with us, be with our hearts and our minds during this meeting, that we make our best decisions, the best interest for the district and our kids and our community. And dear Lord, thank you for dying on the cross so our sins may be forgiven. In your name I pray. Amen.
Going on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state, one God, one indivisible.
Okay, there aren't any public comments. Feedback on portal responses? Any feedback? Okay. Mr. Humphries, you have a report for us?
Yes, ma'am. Seems like it's been a while. Start off with enrollment. We're at 181 right now. That's with bringing 7 new students into the district. We have 3 fifth graders, 1 8th grader, 1 junior, or 1 freshman, 1 junior, 1 senior. So that puts us at 181, I believe 60 in high school, and that doesn't count transfers. You're going to go to that.
Does that count Rocky? He's gonna be in kindergarten.
Okay.
We'll talk with
Okay.
So let's go 181-ish.
Okay.
Ish. Staffing, I'm sure you're aware of, but we had an opening with the Gibsons for mathematics, and we also had an opening for office assistant. Justin also did special ed, so Connie Hernandez has her special ed. So we'll do some switching there. She'll do a half a day of special ed, half a day of classroom, and we'll go from there. Still working on office assistant. Sure, Nelson will talk about that here in a little bit. Scheduling for 26, 27. We thought we were done, and then you make a few changes here and there, but we're unofficially pretty much done unless something changes in the next week or so. So we've got that all done. Looks very similar to last year with a few little changes in there and so on and so forth. So we did get to go the other day. Nelson, myself, and Melissa went to Paducah for the District 8A meeting as we are in a new district next year, a new old district from my understanding, but it was all new to me. We divvied things up. We'll be hosting Cross-Ex debate next year. We'll host the high school academic meet. We'll host the district track meet, and we'll host junior high district tennis next year as the hosts here. So that will be fun. And looking forward to getting that track finished. It looks good, but once we get that surface on it, so it was a good meeting. Things went well to begin with, in my opinion, and so good there. Lone Star Cup, you win some, you lose some. Gordon came through and took us at the last minute in baseball, but I guess we were second 3 years ago, first last year, and second this year. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I mean, that's how many other schools would trade to be second, first, second over a 3-year period? So, but when you win it, it's pretty simple. You want to win it again, and so I'm not disappointed, but we're not happy being second. That's fair to say. Last weekend, got to go to the All-Star games. Kids were represented well. Bodie and Colt and Josh and John. The game was not much of a game, but it was good to see them spend one last game together, and it was a whole lot like all of our other games. And so it was interesting. I was proud of our coaches. Game became chippy in the second half, and John and Josh and remained level-headed and did not let some of the garbage of the game, because if you can't beat them fighting mentality, and I thought they maintained a good level head, and as they do, so very good. Nelson and I were able to attend the TASSP convention in Dallas. It's your board convention that you went to the next week. Here's some really good speakers, and I'm not saying this for his, but I've seen him now for 3 years. He's always the best. He always does the best presentation, and I knew half the stuff he was going to do. He's always so good and leads such an interact. A lot of you just sit there and listen to him the whole time, and after 10 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm done. And he does his, and it's sharing and interactive, and I'm always excited about what he's doing, even after 3 years, because it's just so good. And so I enjoy the very best. Got to listen to an inner city speaker that went into a school that had gangs. And I mean, and so you just sit and listen to that and imagine what they're going through. It's a 5A district. The Secretary of Education had to come down, and they shut their school down for a while. Ended up being went from a terrible school to a good school. And the thing and I told Nelson, the thing I get from going to those is we have all these massive problems around here. We don't have problems. We're very, very blessed. Having to hire 2 people right now, very, very blessed. I mean, we're not blessed to have to hire people. We're blessed that that's all we're having to do. I mean, I know school districts don't have a principal in place, don't have 10 teachers in place, don't know how they're going to open school, don't have enough funds to pay. I mean, it's really sad, the state of education in. And so I know we think our problems are big. They're not. We're extremely blessed with the quote unquote problems that we have. It's all relative to how you take it. So, but a very good opportunity to learn. I appreciate getting to go, and it's a lot of fun. And I always leave coming back enriched. I wish it was more the end of July, because it's kind of like a big pep rally. You're always ready to go. And now there's another month and a half till school starts. And, it's a good time, but that's kind of,
There's nothing to do.
well, there's stuff to do. There's plenty to do, but but it's really good. Really, really enjoy going. And again, but appreciate letting me go. And it's kind of where we're at. Questions for me?
Thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Coulter, your report.
Speaking of problems, I mildly suggested that Jamie change shirts before he came back tonight.
I completely forgot. Completely forgot.
Sorry, Cody.
I thought it, but I didn't say anything. Yeah,
Summer, we don't have dress codes.
game on.
If you all are okay with it, I'd like to just jump to the part where introduce Jeremy Holmesley to you and give him the floor for a minute so he can introduce his family if he can. And
Maybe I'll come around here. Thank you so much. I'll just be real quick. It's such an honor to be here and join y'all as the band director. I want to thank Dr. Coulter and Mr. Humphreys and obviously the board for having a confidence in me, for placing your confidence in me with the band program. I want to recognize Ms. Huff for the work she's done over the past couple of years, and just want to continue to build on that. And I'm very excited and looking forward to it. Annie, come here. This is Annie. You can say hi. She's the shy one. Come on, front. You can say hi again. And this is Rocky, and this is my wife Julie.
Hi.
She's hiding.
Anyway.
Oh yeah. But anyway, thank y'all so much. I appreciate you, and I look forward to getting to know y'all and building relationships with y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
And Jeremy, y'all can slip out whenever you feel like you need to. We're gonna just keep having business.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Safe travels to you, by the way.
Thank you.
As I mentioned to you all earlier, if you're willing, and to share a little bit of what you learned, if you went to TREA, and if you want to, now is a good time to do it.
I'll share, and I'll also share for Cody, because he's just sent me stuff to
Oh,
share.
okay.
Unless y'all let him share next time. We can bring
Either
him
way you
on
wanna
the-
do it.
Y'all
I
wanna
got
do
the-
that?
I
Cause
got
I don't know
the
that I
better.
can give the emotion that he
Yeah.
has here. But I'll start. It's kind of hard for me to condense this stuff because I'm kind of nerdy when it comes to learning all this information. But the first thing that I heard more than once was, what are we doing in our rural schools to prepare our students to come back here? And that really stuck out to me. I hadn't heard that before. So that was a thought question I wanted to put out to y'all. I hadn't processed that before. And then I think we all went to the emotional IQ seminar. It was very interesting. We've heard it. You've mentioned it in here, and they talked about from the leadership perspective, from your administrators and their emotional IQ, but then us as leaders too, as volunteer leaders in here. And I walked away thinking the foundation of building a quality emotional IQ is our love and our passion for this school, because I think everybody sitting at this table would not have signed up to do this job if we didn't love this school. And I think that's what builds our emotional IQ in this room. So that was my takeaway there. And then I made a handout because I am a nerd and I can't say everything at once. I was going to pass it around, but it was community relations for school. And I think I resonated with this so well because this is what I do. I do public relations in the business world. And the speakers were pretty dynamic. And they talked about organizations like Southwest Airlines and Chick-fil-A and Buc-ee's and the Ritz-Carlton, and you know, the perception that people get when they walk into these businesses. And they kind of started it that way. And then they asked us several questions, and I put these out there so y'all can look at them later. I'm not gonna read it all to you. But the first one was, does your board interact positively with all factions of the community and school? And I think that's something that the past year we've done really, really well, and I'm very proud of that. And the survey that we did, I don't know, are we gonna talk about that today? Okay.
We are.
Okay, obviously didn't look through that.
Okay.
But you know, when that went out, I had a few people text and call me and say, is this safe? Who's gonna see this? Are they gonna know? Is this real? And so while I feel like we're in a really good place, I feel like maybe we're not 100% where in my mind I think we should be. So there's always room to grow. And so I enjoyed sitting there. It was an hour long, and I'm not gonna do the whole hour. But then another thing that I wanted to look at as a group, and we looked at this a couple of years ago, so not everybody was here, and we talked about the mission statement and how our school mission statement drives our school motto and theme. And that's something we could do over the next year. I would love to do that with this group of people at this table. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Anybody else? I make copies for y'all.
Just being with other school board members and just talking, visiting, meeting people is always a good time, and hear some of their belly aches, and some people that I knew close by, Roby and neighboring towns. But I stepped into one seminar with Colorado City school board. They presented because they were the school board of the year last year. And so to start it off, the superintendent, Dr. Polk, I felt like I was in church, but not my normal church. I felt like I was in a Southern black, this guy was charismatic and he was passionate about his job. And they brought him in to Sweetwater a few years ago, and the board was pretty much the same. They were in disarray and had a lot of problems, staff but within the board. And so each board member talked about, some of the experiences and what Dr. Polk has done for them. They went through a Lone Star governance training. Is that through TASB? Or it's
promoted by TEA.
It's okay. It's not TASB, but it's Lone Star Governance, and you have to. I think you get an instructor to come, and,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
just
Yep.
they just kept emphasizing that changed their whole trajectory at their school, and they got a lot of stuff going on right now. They were losing a lot of kids. They're closer to other schools than we are. Westbrook, Lorraine, Roscoe. They have to compete more than but now, and they've changed some of the things that they did. And it was just inspiring to see them present, and Dr. Polk, the way they presented and I was like, I see why this was School Board of the Year last year. They were a finalist this year. They don't think they got it, but that was really inspiring to me, and that's probably one of the things I remember. I left my notes at the house, but also went to the emotional IQ stuff, and those guys were awesome. They were in Dallas area, just Region 10 or
Region 10,
something,
mhm.
and I had some notes from them, but I didn't bring them. But I'll share more when I'm more prepared when Scott and Andy share next meeting.
Well, evidently I tried to just retake courses I'd already taken this year. I didn't realize I
It's
was
okay.
retaking some that I wasn't.
We
quite
call that
due.
relearning.
Well, I got to take the brand new student outcomes class, even though I just
Well.
had it in January. It was
for
the
you.
25 version. Now I got to see the new 26
Different
version.
presenter, I
That was
guess.
the 3-hour version. right?
Yeah, it was a 3-hour version. And it was every bit of 3 hours, and it had to be required to be 3 hours with
Yeah, of course,
very
of
short
course.
break.
because that's the way learning happens.
Yes, yeah.
Define
must-
time blocks.
Yes, yes. I think there was only a couple of things that I took out of that class that were interesting. Is one of the things is that, you know, what gets attention is what's important. Well, what we pay attention to is what's important. And the question was what are we paying attention to? What's important? And they were suggesting that 80% of a board agenda should be about student outcomes rather than building stadiums or whatever. So that's hard for me because I'm not a curriculum geared kind of person like some of the other people are, as far as, you know, how that stuff functions. And I'm more of a logistical, that's where my giftings is, in logistics and money and different things like that. So thinking about that I may be only good for 20%, you know, it's probably not great.
According to them.
According to them, yes, according to that thing. But and then the other thing that was something to take away is our focus, as we're talking about attention, is our focus as a school on the kids learning and to be, you know, good citizens, and, you know, whether that's whatever's next, whether it's college or career or whatever, are we preparing them for that? Of course, this comes from conversations of sending a kid out into college soon. Of does she know how to study? Does she know how to study for a test and really take a test? Has she had homework?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I think about that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I don't know that my kids have had much homework. So I don't know. And so it triggered in my mind, I was like, are we really putting them out in a situation where they are really prepared for the next level, whatever that is? It was just a thing that went through my head anyway. I'm not going to talk about the customer service because Stephanie already hit that pretty hard.
On that 80% thing, that's straight out of that Lone Star Governance Handbook.
Yeah,
That's what they hammer away on.
they were telling us 75%,
Okay.
and they were before 25% probably each meeting on student outcomes, and then I could bet you that's all right.
That tells me as you and I can handle the 20%.
There you go. Maybe that's how it is.
And then I think about, sometimes we hear these facts and statistics for schools and they're like, this is what should go across the board. But then based on what Mr. Humphrey said, we're not like every school. We don't have
Right.
every problem that the people that sat
Yeah.
all around me complained about. So we're lucky and we're so fortunate. So because we have that foundation, I feel like our focus can be on things like preparing Lainey to know that she can go ask for
Mhm.
help because she had confidence here. You know, like there are skills that they're learning here that they can because they have a good, healthy foundation that they may just be scrapping over here to survive and get recognition. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
so when we hear those statistics, I'm kind of like,
Absolutely.
okay, Jayden's just. a
When you
little
walk into a
different.
school building and you don't feel safe emotionally or physically, you can't learn.
Right. I agree.
Preparing for 10 years down the road doesn't even cross your mind.
You're just surviving.
You're just looking over your shoulder.
And that kind of leads into my biggest takeaways. A lot of you know, I spend a lot of time at conferences in my job. In fact, I've done 3 weeks in a row now, but this one, I mean, those are our people. And by that, I mean, in those one-off conversations we were having, there's a group of people with very similar goals. I mean, we want to prepare our kids to go out, and we're doing it with a certain amount of restrictions based on size or geography. But we are doing it with probably far fewer restrictions, certainly fewer distractions and obstacles. And I think, since coming into this a year ago, the things that kind of keep us up at night are those distractions and obstacles. We want to make sure everyone's happy. We want to make sure everyone feels represented. We want to make sure we're making all these right choices for the kids. But when I talk to those others who are trying to achieve the same goals we're trying to achieve, I am thankful for really the limited number of obstacles that are thrown in our path. I mean, outside of geography, I mean, I know it's hard for us to get some of these, and I know you're working on the rural pathway stuff. Geography is probably our biggest limitation, but as far as community support and resources and strong staff and people willing to come work here, we've got it pretty easy,
And geography is an obstacle, but it's also a blessing.
For sure.
Indeed.
They're both-
It might be what
Uh,
prevents us from having some of those other obstacles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By our side of it.
Right,
It
right.
is a bus. When I left here in 2002, and went to the city in those large schools, one of the first things I noticed is that the number of contortions that they were going to try to create an environment that was just in the DNA here. I mean, every student known, every student cared for. And well, we would do some of the wildest things to try to recreate the small school feel in a 3,500 student campus.
Right after the school board training, I went straight. Them and I went straight to San Marcos. Sean had his orientation at Texas State. A bunch of parents were there, probably not mandatory, but encouraged. We were in the area, so we went, and there was probably 200 students. It's all summer long. They got 13,000, I think, incoming freshmen this year. But anyway, after the housing moving in dates and the financial stuff, that was pretty. I needed to hear some of that, but I was blown away by. They were really trying to make their goal on orientation and all the activities and stuff. And even after the parents and the students separated, they talked to us and they're like, if your kid after a couple weeks calls and you sense something different in him, and they're concerned with kids, they want to keep them in school. And I guess that is a big problem with kids just get off, they can't make friends, don't know how to make friends. So their student activities, getting them together. So just coming from school board training to orientation, where I got one going to the next level, they are really focused on getting the kids involved, making friends. And I think we do a good job. Well, I just wonder, I was like, we need to keep focusing on the speaking, the social part of what we do here, because when they get out into the workforce, not necessarily college, but into the workforce, wherever, that's what you got to do is meet people and be comfortable meeting people, shaking hands, looking people in the eye. But they were really focused. And I asked Sean, I was like, what did y'all talk about in y'all student groups when your sessions? And he's like, what to do if I get homesick, and it's kind of the same stuff. And I'm not too worried about Sean making friends. I'm really not.
Yeah.
But
Do that.
there are some that have problems.
He'll get in the car with almost anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it Sunday.
But anyway, we just need to keep focusing on the next level after Jamie, on all of our programs that we do here, because it's real. So that's all that I had.
Well, I won't labor too long. As Jamie mentioned, he and I went to the principals conference week. Was that last week or week before? I can't remember. Week before, yeah. Thanks for the kind words, by the way. I was reminded, if you look on that screen, this is some research that I came across several years ago by a Japanese researcher. And Dr. Masaru Emoto. And what he decided to do was to see if he could discern the impact on water crystals of words and music. So he would take water from the same source. It was either tap water or creek water. I mean, it was the same source, and he would put it in a glass, and he would either tape the word thank you on the glass or speak thank you. And so the top left is then he would microscopically take a picture of the water crystal after that water was exposed to the word thank you over a period of time. And then he would do the same thing with the word wisdom, and the same thing with the word truth, and the same thing with the word eternal. And so you can see the impact of just words. And then he did similar kinds of experiments with different kinds of music, and would take the microscopic photograph of those water crystals after they were exposed to heavy metal music or classical music or Christian music or whatever. And so that Jamie and I did a book study, I don't know, 2 months ago, I guess. I forgot. Oh, it was Dr. Ben Edwards that mentioned that book when he came and visited with us in January. And then Jamie and I decided to read the book on the power that we have as individuals and also as a collective group, like a team of 8 or the folks in this room, to shape the outcomes we want by the way we think and the words we speak. And that particular book that Dr. Edwards recommended was one, it was grounded in faith. It was a woman, clearly a Christian woman, but she was tying the Christian faith to scientific research on we make the realities that we want if we're disciplined in the way we think. And that goes back to that 80%. How do you spend your attention? Interestingly, before Jamie and I read that book, I had read one by Dr. Dawson Church, who is, if he, at the very least, he's agnostic, maybe atheist, I'm not sure, but a pretty well-known researcher. And the title of the book was Mind to Matter. And he made exactly the same point using empirical research, that we shape our environment and the future by the way we think, the way we speak, the way we interact with people. And so it's kind of interesting, as I told Jamie and Nathan when we were interviewing him the other day, a long time ago, I became convinced that God has a wicked sense of humor, and because of the little twists and turns that he brings to our lives. But it was kind of odd to me that the confluence of those things, the book by Dr. Church, and then the woman also was Lear, I think, in that book. And then I was reminded of Dr. Emoto's research and man, oh man, some of you lived through some very turbulent times in this room. Um, I'm thankful it hasn't been that way for 14 or 15 months. Don't want to return to it. All righty, thanks for sharing. I'm going to move on. I appreciate you all being willing to play. My thanks go to Jamie, Darla, Angela, and Leella for serving on the band director interview committee. We had, I think, five applications. 3 of them just made me want to run from the room screaming. But we interviewed the 2 that I thought might be keepers, and Jeremy was the one that we felt like was the best match for us at this time. And then I want to thank you all. I put this on here before the events of a week and a half ago. I wanted to thank you all for giving us the authority to hire professional positions in the summer. But at the time, I thought we were only going to be trying to hire a band director. I didn't realize the subsequent resignations we were going to get. But as I mentioned to you yesterday, I think it probably worked out for the best anyway. Andy Benavides built that backdrop with a frame for it. We already had the cloth, but someone had destroyed our frame. He did that so we could use it the last week of school. Jacqueline, Kim Ann, and Samantha just put on a marvelous lunch on Cinco de Mayo. And they dressed up to boot, and the kids just squealed with delight. And it was fun. They did a nice job. I'm always thankful for Amy Tuttle and the way she champions the Accelerated Reader program. For years, I've used Accelerated Reader as an example of the power of the educator over curriculum. And I've watched over the years skillful teachers take Accelerated Reader and foster in children a lifelong love of learning and appreciation for literature. And I've seen other teachers take exactly the same tool, Accelerated Reader, and cause students to absolutely hate reading and never pick up another book that they don't have to for the rest of their life. Same tool. Exactly. Same tool.
You live with a lady that was gifted there.
Yeah, well,
I watched it happen to my kids.
Yeah.
One of my children.
Yeah. and you are not the first to say that. And interestingly,
You have that research proven in your house.
yeah, right. Well, she doesn't always exude that peaceful stuff in my direction.
Well,
Sometimes my water crystals don't look so.
it might be she's having to deal with it.
No, but so many people have said that over the years. And interestingly, I was not much of a reader before I married her. And she has fostered in me a love of reading too. Now I do that instead of sleep as much as anything. But Leela, Amy Tuttle, and Lauren Huff, I thought did another great job with the spring music program, and that's just funny. It's just delightful watching them. Kelsey did a great job of juggling a lot of stuff with a pleasant demeanor. Especially in those last 2 weeks of school. There's a lot of demands, and not everybody walks in that door in a happy state of mind. Stephanie Carpenter and Kevin were the class sponsors for the big event, which is one of those special things that we can pull off in this community. And I just don't know that there's many places like that on the planet that can do that. And it's just a very special thing. Christy Coulter, Steve Wood fell into health crisis that last week of school and pulled Amber and Josh and Bubba to Brownwood in Steve's last days. But I called Christy and I said, can you step in and take pictures at the graduations, at the award ceremonies, and at the banquet? And she happily did it. And I tried to pay her, and I thought she was going to hit me. She acted like I had offended her. I appreciate her help. Mandy Ryan, stepped out of her comfort zone and organized the Praise in the Park thing. And I thought it was lovely, and it looked like it was gonna rain on us, and we just kept singing. And it was a nice event. Aiden Salazar subbed for Dwayne Lucas while Dwayne was convalescing from knee surgery and was doing a great job. And then he texted him one morning and said, I've taken a job at Rural as a paraprofessional and they're going to let me coach. And so I immediately called him and offered him 2 unsolicited pieces of advice. I won't tell you the second one, but the first one was finish the degree. Finish the degree. He wants to be a coach and teacher, and he's got a kind of an interesting opportunity in this deal. If he'll play his cards right and finish the degree. It was good to see him the other. I was a little nervous about him and Griff and Bodie and Sean and Lowe. Who else was in that group?
Colt.
Cole, yeah, that one. Getting in the vehicle and heading to Lake Texoma Sunday. But as far as I know, they came back. I don't know.
Sean's back.
Or all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Some of them came.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of them.
So I'll move right into updates for you all. We already met Jeremy. And he had service at Sydney ISD for 3 or 4 years. And then his wife is an occupational therapist and she got a nice paying job at Hobbs. He followed her out there and got a job teaching at the Hobbs High School 9th grade center, which is a campus with 750 9th graders only. And I think he got a shock to the system. After having Sydney's about our size or smaller. And so that was, and he grew up in East Central Texas, Troy, that part of the world. And so I think Hobbs was a good experience, and it clarified to him that he didn't want to keep doing that. Jamie commented briefly on the employee status, and I've tried to keep you all updated on that. The next item of business on the hiring thing is the replacement for Tony. And I've met with Lacey and Tanya and Jamie and Kelsey, yeah. Yesterday or day before, talking about that, about what that position has looked like, and if we feel like there needs to be some shifting of roles, responsibilities, and I'm still going through that process. We have 5 candidates right now. 2 of them are already employees of the school. 2 others are community members, and then 1 is an external to the community. Based on our thinking and our conversation this afternoon, I think probably what we're going to do is set interview window for that on July 6th, 7th. Probably not going to move on it this week because I'm not thinking through the shape of the work. And also, since we have internal employees interested too, if one of them ends up with the job, then that automatically generates a subsequent opening that we'll have to address. The STAR and EOC scores, when we meet this time, July the 27th, the next time we meet, we'll have our annual academic public hearing on academic performance. All the scores are in right now, except for the science scores. And the science scores are done, but the state is now deciding, Kinsey's familiar with this game, they wait till the score's in, and then they decide where the cut points are, which I think is absurd, but that's the way they've done it for years and years. And the whole system will change next year. It gets turned on its head next year again. So I have lived through tabs, teams, tax, TOS, STAR in my lifetime, and I don't know what they're calling the next version. You remember?
SST.
What is it?
SST.
SST.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make up the words?
Maybe better. Lost them.
But anyway, that's coming. And I mean, the scores we've seen so far, in most areas, we're outperforming our neighbors and we're outperforming the state in most areas, but not all. Kelsey provided to me 2 weeks ago, I guess, the entire roster of current transfer students, and by conferring with Jamie on student performance, behavior, grades, participation, I'm not ready to kick anybody out of school. I have one family that has requested transfer inward, but I also know they're looking for housing so they can move here. And so I contacted the mom and said, look, your kids can come to school here. I'll touch base with you on the first week of July, and see if you've got a house yet. And if we need to make it a formal transfer, we will, but your kids are going to come to school here. So nothing bad or that you all can anticipate on the street corner about that. The Double Mountain Rural Collaborative, Darla and Jamie and I went over to Aspermont Friday morning to meet with our 6 partner schools and Vicki Hayhurst from Region 14 that's kind of marshaling that, to try to put a few more puzzle pieces actually on the table and make them fit together a little bit about who's offering which pathways, what courses you offer in 9th grade and 10th grade and 11th grade and 12th grade. I had asked Dr. Laurie Sharp at Western Texas and her protege, Molly Fleming, that's in charge of the dual credit stuff. We've chosen the pathway that's called education and training. And I chose that mostly because in that 4th year, students have to get a practicum or a clinical experience. We won't have to transport rural, Roby, Rotan, Hamlin kids here because they can do that on their own campus. So I was trying to alleviate that geographic problem that we have. And so what I've done with Dr. Sharp at WTC, 3 of the sophomore, junior, and level courses were already dual credit in nature. And I've asked Molly and Dr. Sharp to consider that 9th grade level course, that first level course, if they would consider letting it be dual credit also, so that our students get the benefit of both worlds, both the academic transcript credit as well as the preparation for the vocational credentials. And they're working with us on that. And then I told them, I said, and we might actually have an adjunct for you to teach that. And so we're in process right now of getting Angela Woolley signed up to be the adjunct for WTC to teach that class. So, and similar kinds of stuff are happening with our partners. When we look at our customer service satisfaction survey here in a few minutes, and I've been hearing it on the street corner too, or in the courthouse and different places, you know, a little bit of a push. Can we do some more things vocationally for our kids? Well, at least we're going to be meeting that desire. But at the end of the day, I mean, it boils down to, as you all have referenced in BJ's comments too, how well have we prepared Laney to step into the next chapter, and then 10 years down the road from that? My instincts tell me that a particular degree you won't be able to depend on that degree for a lifetime. What you're going to have to be able to do is be flexible and be able to learn and relearn and be able to get along with people in that process while you're doing it. And so, but I think we're focused on the right things. Right now we are. I looked and studied on this one for a year. Every month you all see the financial reports and the student activity accounts, which was for each class there is a student activity account, and then for almost all of the activities, NHS, One Act Play, athletics, all that. I've been studying on this for a year, and I've dealt with the tensions related to it in both small schools and large. I was disinclined to break the athletic activity account into football and then basketball, then tennis, then track, then golf. But I have authorized, or I guess directed maybe is a better word, Lacey for the coming year to split it into the Lady J's athletic activity account and the Jaybird athletic account. So if someone generically donates money, without tagging it one way or the other, then we'll split it evenly between the two. But if somebody wants to say, I want this money to go directly into the Jaybird Athletic account, then that'll go into the Jaybird Athletic account. And so that way it'll be kind of an equity issue. Jamie mentioned that we're back into our old district and that we attended finally, the UIL gives us notification of those realignments the first week of February. So we knew back then that we were the chair of the football district, which is a little different than any that I don't remember us ever being in the football district with Hermleigh before. But it kind of goes from Hermleigh to us and then kind of southward to Roby and Spur. It picks up Spur. But it's in Region 1. But then at the same time, the uniqueness about Class A, when I worked in the 6A schools, when the UIL puts you in a 6A district, it's the district for everything. Football, basketball, the works, everything. In Class A, it's a little different because so many of them don't play football. So you're in football districts and it'll be a different number than it was for everything else. And so Paducah had been made the organizing chair for that basketball spring meet district. And for some reason or another, Gary just was not calling the organizational meeting. And people kept pushing on me. And I said, I'm not raising my hand because I'm afraid they'll make me the chair. I don't want to be the chair. And so finally, Gary got enough pressure, I think, that he called that meeting 2 weeks ago. And because of the leadership churn at some of the other districts, we ended up, as Jamie mentioned, we're going to be hosting district track, district academic, like the old days. It felt like we were hosted everything back when you all were in school. And so we're kind of back to that for the time being. Jamie already mentioned being runner-up in the Lone Star Cup. And then I've thought when the legislature passed the school choice voucher stuff, I have thought since then that public schools in Texas would probably lose at least 1 million kids to the charter private schools. I read last week that Houston is expecting to lose 4,000 this summer. And one of my mentees is the superintendent at Georgetown now, and he sicked a couple of his central office guys on me a couple of months ago to talk about what we did at Guthrie with the virtual school, because Georgetown of all places is losing students. And so they were exploring ways of trying to hold their student base, by offering some stuff online. But again, it cuts back to, and I put this in my text, that long text to you. I'm sorry about that, but yesterday, I want us to be the school of choice, or in Ronald Reagan's terms, a shining city on the hill, so that when people start looking for a place to put their kids, like I did, like Jamie did, like some of you did, I want us to be at the top of the list of places they're looking. Ask me questions about any of that you want to before we get to business stuff. All right.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the first action item, state champ display expansion in wording?
Boy, I would like to think we can stick a fork in this thing tonight. So here on the screen is the stuff I sent to you the other day, and then I have an update that Gregor sent me yesterday. And then also I asked Keith to build these posters for you of what you're looking at is the 30-inch by 30-inch medallion. So that's the real size that if you walked onto that plaza, that's what you'd be looking at. And then I don't know, can you see this pink stuff?
No.
No? Roy, can you see this little pink line here? Okay, well, there's a little pink line here.
Thank you.
And a little pink line. Well, let me just draw it here. Because the latest rendition that Gregor sent me and I'll show it to you in a minute, would shrink this Texas by 4 inches. So it'd be 2 inches off of sides and top and bottom. But so what I been trying to give you, and I hope we can come to a conclusion tonight, was this is just the basics, the year and the championship. And then this one shows you exactly the kind of information that's on the one in front of the gymnasium. And that's what you're looking at here. Lots of words, lots of letters. And then this one is the version that has just of course, the championship, and then the players and the coaches involved. And it doesn't have the superintendent and the chief custodian and all that stuff on it. And then, just for grins, I changed it from an athletic to a marching band. So that's just the basics of that one. And so that I took the number of band members that I thought we had in 98, which I think it was about 50 that we marched that year. And so that's what it would look like if we were trying to put those names on there and the director. And again, this is all the 30 by 30, and this is the accounting team basic version. And if you put the accounting team and the coaches and players on there, then that's what it would look like. And then, as you all know, the dilemma is we were all set to go with this middle wall right in the middle. And then we won 4 more state championships this year, which meant, and all along the conversation is we want something we can amend as we gain championships. It didn't really occur to me that we might have to amend it before we got started. But that's a good problem. That's another one of those problems that nobody has. And also, I tried to give you some sense of what this thing might look like on those medallions with the various font etchings in there too. And so all was good. We were set to go, and you all already approved this one. And then when I told Gregor we won 2 more state championships, so it looked like we were going to need to add these 2 wings to amend. That's when he sent me the new price tag, which nearly caused me to fall out of my bed. And I was not willing to say go without bringing it back to you all. And I thought the price tag was too big without a group decision. And then, so I don't know if you took time to look at this or not. I posed some questions to him that I thought you all might pitch at me tonight. And could those amending walls be shorter? And he felt like we could shorten it the way you got them here. They would hold 6 medallions. He felt like we could shorten it down to 4 on each side, and it still be stable. He didn't feel good about an amendment wall that would only hold 2. And then I asked him if the medallions could they be enlarged so that there's only 10 or 8 if we went with those amendment walls, so that we'd eat up the wall space a little more and have bigger Texas medallions. He said, yeah, that can happen. And then I said, can we scatter the 14 known champions across them in a 4-6-4 thing, so that if we were going to put the amendment walls, it would be spread across the 4. We wouldn't have the dead space, as much dead space. He said that was possible, but then, and I mentioned to you all that he's been a pleasure to work with. Most of the time when I'm dealing with people like this, it feels like they're always trying to grab money. That is their fundamental driver. And my sense of Gregor is that he really wants us. I really think he'd like to have his name on this thing. But I don't think it's a money grab. I mean, I think he would like to use it, get it done so he can use it to promote his stuff. And so yeah, today, he said, I want to send you something else. Yeah, I got it back up here. Oh, that's not the, dadgummit. I want to show you that, but that's not. When I talked to him on the phone yesterday, he said, what if we went with just one wall? But we made it big enough to hold, we made it longer, 24 feet wide, so that we could get all 14 current. And so if we went with a 24-foot wall, then 14 out of these 16 would represent our current state champions, and we'd still have two blank spaces. They wouldn't be blank Texas, but they're blank spaces to add new ones. And so if you keep that in mind, then it would look like this one without the amendment walls, with just the big center wall. And so now I'll show you the price comparisons that he sent to me. I promise I'm getting around. I'm not trying to beat you into submission.
Can we use the back of the wall if we have future?
That was something that he recommended to me, and I've kind of just dissed it because I've wanted something that when people come down that drive,
Yeah, they just.
it's in your face. And more than once, he ran that by me.
Yeah.
And I'm open to it, but
Can rotate.
the Space Needle. So, oh, Cody. So
We'll go around.
So here,
My first question is, we got two rows across there. We got a wasted space here and a wasted space here. Why can we not fill it from the ground to the top?
well, hey,
Let's don't just say we just need 14. We're gonna need 25, 30.
Yeah. Oh, so you mean make the medallion smaller?
Well, I like the 26 by 26 he's talking about, but I'm talking about. You got two rows right across the middle of it, but you got blank up here, you got blank down here. Why could you not use all of them? All the space?
Well,
The picture you were showing a while ago puts these right in the middle, and then there's black up here and black down here.
let me
on
get
that
back.
big wall that you were showing.
Let me get back to it.
I mean, yeah, it's probably more readable, being right in the center. More right level, but. Looks like to me that 24-foot wall would hold 30.
Oh, I got you. I see what you're saying.
32.
So if we went with a 24-foot wall, you're saying,
You can go 4 rows, or at least 3, but really you got room for 4.
well, it's an interesting thought.
Is that drawn to scale? Do you?
That is
That
on the
is
scale.
Yeah, it does look like we could squeeze more on if we arrange that.
I mean,
You
even if it,
consider what that slab of
even
rock
if it-
costs,
Right.
let's put all of we can.
right, even if it means squeezing down the medallions
Mhm.
to a
I
little
think if
smaller.
we went with the basic, the 26 by 26 would be all right. This is gonna be hard to read at 30 by 30.
I agree.
I agree.
Mine.
It's
Agreed.
gonna look more consistent. This one is.
So let me show you the pricing.
Scary part. This is your 20%.
So
Yeah,
This-
BJ volunteered for this
No,
decision.
he's not-
this column here is the original wall, the 18-foot wall. with only 12, with no amendments, and so we were expecting that price tag, 264. And then, when we said, let's put amendments on there, that's when it jumped to 385. And that's caused me a heart attack, and I said, wait. And then he pitched, what about the single wall with enough space for all 14 with 16 medallions on it? And so the price tag on that would be 346. And then if the 24-foot wall and we had to add wings to it, then of course that's a futuristic thought now. I mean, just projecting. So I was all prepared to say to you, I'm willing to recommend to you that we do the 24-foot wall with the 16 medallions. But I'm also willing to say to him, if you all think you would like for me to, let's do the 18-foot wall with, what would that be, 18 medallions, shrink the Texas medallions down to where we can get 3 rows of 6 or 4 rows of 6. I'm open to whatever you want to do. I'd just like to get something happening. Kinsey, you're frowning.
No, I mean, I like the idea of fitting what we can, because no matter what, people are walking up to it to look. I mean, the statement is there, whether it's 18 feet or 24 feet. The statement is there. Everyone that comes to Jayton is going to eventually know, oh yeah, that's where they show us all the times they win. If someone wants to really read it, they're walking up to it no matter what size the wall is. So I like the idea of squeezing what we can onto.
So, so that drives us to the next question, or are you thinking, I mean, I know Roy favors this visualization as opposed to that visualization. And then there's what I didn't get Keith to do is print the middle version, which would be players and coaches. Again, that QR code on there on each of those medallions will take whoever wants to look at it to the deeper stuff. You can see the players, you can see the coaches, you can see the cheerleaders.
Well, 90% of the people that walk up and look at this one are just seeing this. 10% are gonna be somebody that had their name on there or a family member.
That was my original.
That stands out from a distance.
Mhm.
If you're driving up, if you wanna
Right.
hit people, you can see that.
And I know, I mean, and I know Cody Scott has expressed his belief that the best version is the one in the middle between these, which is this stuff and then player coaches on there.
This was my original thought, but then when I saw this in here, I thought that would look more consistent with this instead of lots of words and then very few words, like with the accounting team.
Right.
And then I had a thought and I pitched it to you and I hadn't said anything to anybody else.
Yep.
But y'all know how in the basketball gym, Ryan has done the banners with the team members' names on them. And I thought that was something we could replicate for these. And like for the band, have banners in the band hall. For football, in the auxiliary gym. Or track, or whatever sports team, because we have got wall space in the auxiliary gym. The only one I didn't think of a space for would be academics. But their names are already downstairs, right, in the learning center. So then that way everybody gets recognized. Because I'm thinking equality, like we want everybody to feel equal, and but that was kind of my thought process when I started looking at this.
So that QR code, if I were to go up and scan it, do we design that, Keith, or whoever? I mean, that's whatever we put on there, right?
Yeah. And my thoughts on that, which I haven't talked to the gentleman designing this, but that would take you to a page that we would have on our website specifically for 2024 Class A boys basketball. And it would have all that over there. on that page, and even, you could even have a
All the
quote
games,
from the
all the
coach,
scores.
Just whatever we want to put on it.
Yeah,
That's
just
kind
a
of,
page that would pull up that they could see on their phone. Now, would it ever go away? It won't, because we own the J&J Birds website domain name. You know, if we were going through somebody else like ESC 17 for our website stuff, then I wouldn't recommend this.
Yeah.
But since we own that domain name, wherever we link that to in that page, whoever's hosting our website, I just make sure that's always there and it pulls up and works. So that I would see the longevity of that not being an issue on that. You know, maybe 10 years ago, that might not have been my answer for you, but nowadays, I don't see a problem with that at all. Keeping that. And like I said, you could expand on it, put more info, especially the band. You know, you get all the band members on that, and it's pretty small.
Well, and we've talked about this too. To me, the beauty of the QR code is not only can you give the reader or the interested party deeper information, but unlike the monument in front of the gym, if you have a misspelling, you can get it fixed at almost no cost.
Yes,
You don't have to tear something down and rebuild it.
it would be at no cost, because I would be the one putting it out there.
But when you leave, we need to make sure that whoever replaces you in their
There's that too.
contract says they will take good
Well,
care of that.
But that's the beauty of this, is it's out there on our website, and it's a page there hosted by our website, so whoever's in my position would have access to that. Kelsey would too. We really haven't migrated out with anybody else to do that, but that can always be adjusted also.
Okay.
Cause she and I both kind of tag team on different items on the website that we update anyway. So, but that's the benefit of owning your own domain name, is you can really expand on that website as much as you want. And we're not limited on space.
Yeah.
With the people that host it, so.
So based on the way the conversation is going, and yep, it's okay if y'all want to push back on me, it's a fine. Kinsey had floated with me earlier the possibility of putting it on the table. And so with Roy's suggestion that we look at the possibility of 3 rows of medallions instead of 2 or 4 rows of medallions, maybe what I need to do is ask Gregor about that. And because when we started this process, I was thinking, man, it'd be great to have this thing up there ready to go for the Gridiron Classic, but that ain't gonna happen. You were fixing to say something.
no, I was just gonna give my opinion on, originally when we talked about it last month or 2 months ago, I liked the one in between these two, but with
Yep.
the QR code, and that's unlimited what you can put on there.
Right.
I think
You
for
list the games.
anything, but
Endless.
I kind of like Roy when it looks really clean and looks, but if we do I was thinking about the names, you can still get that picture up there, the middle one probably.
Right.
Then you get to the band, that looks really busy.
Right.
And I don't know a different price. Is this bronze, like sculpture? I mean,
It's the medallions are
Yeah,
metal. I
metal.
think they're gonna be cast. That's
Cast.
what I think they'll be.
and I don't know, it'd probably be, I don't know if they're any cheaper like this or versus that one. But this looks clean, to me, but you know,
You pointed out that it varies across the board when you look at it like that. Just a little on this one and this one's full.
That was, to me, that's the thing. I mean, my first instinct was let's put the players and coaches on there. But then when you put the football team right next to the accounting team, it looks a little whopper jawed. So here's what we can do. We can either make a decision, say, let's do one of these things that we've talked about, or somebody can say, I move we table it till next month, or if y'all just don't say a single word, we can just say no action taken. And I'm gonna go do the homework anyway, either one of the latter of those two.
I have a couple of comments.
Yeah, good.
my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm still in the boat of the in between. And it's weird for me because I'm a technology guy all the way. Like I'm all about having all that stuff in the background and you know, having something to scan or whatever. But I think there's something about the physical, like bringing your kids, your grandkids up and you showing them your name on a plaque. Like I want a state championship.
Mhm.
You know, it's one thing to see it physically on the wall, and to me, it just to something it loses a little bit when I have to scan it and show them on the phone, like that my name's really a part of it. I don't know. I'm just that's my perspective on that. And then as far as the QR code, I'm a little bit hesitant to put it on the plaque. It makes me wonder if we should put it more in a central, like one QR code. You know, that's somewhere
That leads you
can-
to all, I
it
mean,
can lead you to all of them.
Like a virtual tour. of
Yeah, like a
the-
virtual tour
yeah.
of the whole thing.
which could,
That
if
way-
you did that, it could go on the pedestal thing.
Yes.
Right here.
So that loses a little bit of the same idea of what I was just saying, is if you do go that way, I feel like it almost needs to be on it. If it's not, then it can be more central. But the reason I suggest a central location is if, you know, QR codes are the thing now. Or
Right.
have actually, they're not even anymore.
Right.
The proximity sensors are the thing now, or you tap your phone to something to get something. So I start thinking of, well,
Gotcha.
how
Yeah.
fast
I
is
see where
this
you're
gonna
going.
change?
Right.
How long is my phone gonna be able to read a QR code?
Yep.
And it take me somewhere, you know, what is the next thing?
Right.
And I know proximity sensors are kind of the thing now. You know, you can tap on whatever. So I just wonder if we centralize it somehow or another, at least it's one thing we can tear out and replace.
Yep.
You know, when that technology or whatever is no longer, there needs to be changed.
Yep.
So it's just a couple of thoughts of what.
Like when you scan that and pull it up, it kind of shows you a map just like that, and you
You
kind
can tap
of
on
you
that
push on the
text
one
as
that you want to
well.
look at, and then there's all the
Yeah.
information. That's
Yeah.
You could.
it's interesting.
And I love having the background though, you know, being able to put a bunch of information out there that people
Yeah.
can go look at and stuff to. And you could even host, I mean, you could even make that a link on our website, a virtual tour of our state championship wall, you know, that's another way of doing the same thing for those that don't show up physically. Anyway, just my thoughts on it. I do agree with the consistency and what that looks like. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit torn,
Yeah.
a little bit, because
I came in thinking the middle also, like I feel like that's too much, but I know, you know, we want kids to aspire to be a part of a team and work for getting their name on it. I also think about, you know, in terms of historical markers, the first thing I do but I'm a nerd, you know, when I find something, I'm Googling more information, more background about it. So when I think, okay, this would be there, like that's the trigger for people to bring their kids and grandkids up and say, okay, look, now here's the picture of my team, here's who was on it. So, I mean, I think we could, I love the idea of centralizing because I do think it'll change. I think the QR will change to something else, will change to something bigger and fancier. So when I think of it in terms of a historical marker, then I think, okay, the historical marker is, yeah.
Well, and somebody had along these lines, it might have been Keith, somebody had mentioned to me, we don't have to be thinking only in terms of text. If it's the 98 state champion marching band, we can link the video of that performance. Or
Love that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is cool. I mean, that's great.
I triggered a thought.
So, well, my thought originally was not to have the barcode, QR code on it anyway. Would be to have something up like in this corner that is easily replaceable with whatever it might evolve into.
Yeah.
And then you're not looking at trying to alter an actual plaque, which is almost impossible.
Right.
But it's something that we could put up there that if the QR code gets to where phones aren't registering it anymore, and then we could adapt to wherever the latest is, I'm not sure about the touch stuff, it depend on batteries and all that kind of stuff to be involved in that situation, but, that was my initial thought, was something that, stood out about the same distance as this, but maybe a little 3 inch by 3 inch square that they could scan on, and then it is still more focused on that one plaque and not, you can still have a link to everything and we could have an overall video and a walkthrough of everything, then those would focus more on the individual. Just
So,
Yeah,
I mean, to blend your thoughts with BJ's, so on that visual right there, if we had a centralized gateway on the top of that pedestal that you either tap your phone or it's a QR code or something, that immediately opens up to you.
that could take you to a web page that.
So it would be one thing to replace instead of 16 or 20 or,
That would be, because that would just take you to view everything.
right, it would just open the door for you to walk into the,
You could open
menagerie,
a picture
I
of
guess.
that, whichever one of them you touch and pull up and. Be
Oh, no, that's an idea.
pretty easy.
say that again?
Yeah,
Just, it should, when you tap on that one, if it pulls up this picture of this board, then you can touch one of the states.
Yeah,
or
There you go.
We
You
could
don't
just
have to
get-
search for this one or that one.
we could just get an LED wall. Forget about all that fancy
Probably. have.
my wife
stone.
My wife
You
said
can walk
no.
up there and touch it, and bring up the video and play it full screen of the.
My wife said no.
Okay, all right, sorry.
You can do that from home. I like that idea. Yeah, not even having to be here
A
to
virtual,
experience the
virtual,
Yes.
where our people that are not able to come here, that live in other states, and there is, could actually virtually attend that, where it's virtual using.
That's right. That was great.
That would be kind of cool, that you wouldn't have to come up here to do that, you could actually attend it, I mean, if able to, you could virtually do it. Where it could make people that are not able to get here a part of it too,
Yeah.
as it's updated.
Whatever page we link to, I could have each little emblem be a quick link to.
Yep.
Take them to the page to view that,
Take up a group.
but
Well, and the proximity sensors, like you can buy it's just a little disc now, and you program them with the information and you can lock them for somebody else can't program them for you. But they can be changed, so if your domain name changes or something, you can go in and reprogram them. They don't require any power anyway, they're actually powered by the device that you put up next to them. It's really.
Really?
weird. Yeah, they are powered by that proximity power of it. It's really bizarre how it works, but it's.
Yep.
Anyway, I kind of lean towards trying to go to the next,
Right.
at least whatever is the latest thing.
Yeah.
You're looking 20 years down the road?
Right. Because
2 years.
that'll be gone in 2 years,
So it sounds to me like we're not gonna make a decision here. It sounds to me like my homework is, however you all want to phrase it, my homework is
Can fit.
to see,
I think it needs to be in chronological order. If we're talking about putting Phil over here and somewhere, I think it should be, I don't think we need to do that. I think it needs to be in chronological order.
do what now?
Yeah,
One wall.
I agree. I don't know what was first, 84, 85 football, and then
So on that topic, I have a thought on that.
Okay.
Because if it grows, if it keeps growing, I mean, we need to start out with some degree of homogeneity, if that's the right word. What I was thinking, if you look at that, is we might start in the middle and work outward as time goes by, and we keep adding deals. So that you don't walk up there assuming that there's some chronological methodology, because if you keep adding, then it doesn't work.
You don't think you would add here, here, and then go here, here?
Well,
just keep it symmetrical.
I guess my point is not start at the top left and go across like this, because that is
You're
your.
always gonna look out of proportion.
Right. Another thing too is the tease effect. Because you might walk up there assuming it's chronological, and then you say, wait a minute, 84 and then 98, and you hold attention a little bit longer, but that's just
What was
dreaming.
he saying about God sent you human?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so,
Cause when the wall's the size of the school. if you're-
which would be a good
30
one to
years.
have, but I'll be dead.
You don't care then.
Table or no action? I got homework, one way or the other.
I think the price is gonna change, so I don't, we can't take action on
No.
fitting more on a bigger wall, without the wings, I think, and then we still have to figure out what they look like and the technology on it.
I would lean towards no action just in case for some reason you can't
Fine
get
with
the
me.
information together, this table requires it to come back next time.
Yep. Got that, Secretary?
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Wait,
Thank
wait,
you all.
you said no action.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
I don't agree.
Do we need a vote?
Hang on, let me type this and then see what our options are. Time out.
Okay.
No vote no.
Sorry, Mr. Coulter.
No, it's fine.
Maybe
I-
the AI data center will sponsor it.
Well, I floated that when I met with the commissioners last week, when they were probing my thinking. So I mean, I'll visit with you about that later.
Worth a shot. It's worth it.
A lot of things we could flip.
Yeah,
So,
probably better money.
no action is really not an option. So we can either carry, fail, withdrawn, table it. Or we don't, that last one, unseconded.
Can you just skip it?
You say no action is not an option?
Okay, let me try this, hang on.
So you have a program now to take the minutes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it makes rules for you.
You just check the box.
Let's just try to go to the next agenda item. Save discussion.
Five.
Your current action is unsaved.
Sharpen my pencil.
What's wrong with tabling it?
Nothing.
Nothing. The only reason I said,
Roy says table it.
the only reason I said that is because it
Make it as easy
requires
as
it
you
to
can.
have to
Second.
come back next time. according to Robert. It has to come back on the agenda for the next meeting.
Oh, it's
which we
coming
probably
back.
won't
I
do
think it's
anyway.
coming back
It's
forever,
coming back.
actually.
If for some reason the information is not all together, he could skip if he needed to.
So did you get that, Roy?
Roy,
And somebody seconded.
okay.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Okay.
All right,
unanimous.
Thanks for your consideration.
Moving on to a discussion item, the 2026 Customer Satisfaction Survey Review and Analysis.
It's on the screen. I'll slide us through fairly quickly. But then stop me if you want anywhere you want to. Let me preface with this. These broad surveys are, data integrity is difficult. If we just post it on the website, then we're gonna get friends from Spur and Aspermont weighing in. If we blast it by email, similar, because it just gets bounced outward. And then also from an honesty and a transparency perspective, you don't want people to feel like you're mining their data. You want them to feel like they can give their feedback in an anonymous fashion. So weighing those things, we decided to disseminate it through our ThrillShare platform, because that's our stakeholders that pay attention to what we're doing on the day-to-day, for the most part.
Yeah.
And so that was the limited in research speak, that was the end that we were aiming for, is all the people that get our data through ThrillShare. Only 34 showed up to play, and as you'll see in some of this, evidently it looks like at least a couple of people did it twice, or either they were side by side and decided to write exactly the same thing. But here we go.
You said 34.
34 total
Okay, so
submissions.
3%.
Yeah, and this is the way it breaks. I was pleased to see more stakeholders, identified stakeholders, I was afraid it would be all school employees and a few students with just very few stakeholders, so I was thankful to see that breakout. This is gonna look a little deceiving. When I first started reading it, I was just assuming the red was the worst, but it's not. The blue pieces of the pie, and I could not figure out how to get those colors changed. The blue pieces of the pie are the bottom dwellers. Those are the ones that hate us the most. And so green, gold are the ones that are giving us above average marks. And my simple way of thinking is if we can get 75 to 80% of folks hitting in there, then it feels to me like we're doing okay. Although I don't like any blue. I mean, I don't like for people to be unhappy, but so engage stakeholders in ways that foster trust. Stop me when you want. Environment of safe and as I mentioned to you all when we started this process, surveys serve two purposes. One is to collect data from the people you're trying to collect data, but the second piece of it is you're sending messages with the prompts that you give them. And so there's a little method to the madness there. Environment safe, orderly, and nurturing. Y'all have seen that language before. And so we got, I didn't like seeing 24% of the folks, plus that 14, questioning the safe, orderly, and nurturing nature of our environment. Wholesome and healthy meals. That's the big winner for the whole survey right there. Culture promotes healthy relationships with other students and adults, making all feel welcome and included. Kind of mixed bag there. Sir?
That's surprising.
Yeah. I know. You know, and I think I've told you all before, when I was working on my doctorate, Dr. Mike Moses was one of my professors who had been the commissioner of education, and he ingrained in us the understanding that he said, for every person that you have that will stand up and raise their hand and complain, you have to assume there's at least 6 more that won't go to the trouble. Yeah. And so that's been informative to me over the years, as I think about how to better serve customers. Respectfulness expected of all students and representatives. That was encouraging data to me. All students feel loved and cared for.
I don't like that there's red in that.
Yeah,
But I'm glad
But there's no blue.
right,
No blue.
Right.
That's a good.
right.
It's red.
All stakeholders given an opportunity to express their opinions or concerns. Fairly encouraging about, I want everybody to feel like they can say what they want to say. And
You could have, but didn't.
do what?
You have a few people that could have and didn't.
You sound like you've been a commissioner. Or on the school board.
Went out and read some of that between the lines.
Yeah, right. And then here is an example. These 2 comments right here are just dead identical. So it looks like somebody did it twice. And then obviously some people choose to vent, which that's expected, but at least they have the option to do so. I'm going to move on unless you stop me. Okay, in the next section, which is optimal learning portion. And the data here was a little better, I thought, generally speaking. Holistically. Optimal learning is the decisions of this group in this room. Focus on the whole child. I like the way that data looked. Expected to learn at high levels. Students, that's encouraging to me. Students and adults expected to learn, and I appreciate you all sharing what you learned at the beginning of this meeting. I think that sends a strong signal as well. Frequent and ongoing feedback to students. I was afraid that that data might look uglier. I was the high quality instructional practices and materials. Individualized support for student success. Robust technology. I said earlier, the cafeteria was the big winner. This one actually might have been the big winner. Balanced menu of learning opportunities, academic, vocational, curricular, extracurricular, and some of the comments will reflect this. Students encouraged to participate beyond the classroom. Excellence is expectation. And then I had to make the font a little smaller to, let me get that, grow that up for you just a little. Again, there's some duplication there. And then more than one person is still, even when I go to public meetings, I hear it. They're not nasty, but. Shall I move on? And then the last portion on effective, efficient operations. Focus on continuous improvement. I was encouraged by this data. Well maintained and neat. When Jamie walked around a family that's coming in last week or week before, whenever it was, one of the things he heard from them was surprised at how clean, well kept our place is. Yep. Communications, courteous, prompt, clear. I thought that might have been worse, uglier data, and I was pleased that that was as good as it was. Decision making, invitational, transparent, collaborative. Not what I would have wished for. Transportation. Yep. Yep. Resource allocation toward learning. Exemplary stewardship of resources. Systems that ensure learning progress and current grades are known by students and parents. That data was better, looked better than I thought it might. Website, good marks. And then finally the comments. You know, there's always people that take cheap shots at teachers. I won't give them that opportunity. In Jane Gerard.
Jane.
Probably autocorrect. I don't know. They got it right in the first sentence.
So I don't know who the administration is at Jane Gerard, but they're good.
Pick me, pick me. Y'all done? All righty. Comments? Or shall we move on? I intend to share this with faculty and staff, and I intend to put this on the website.
So what can we do, knowing what we know, to improve? So that if we were to do this again, it was,
Right, right.
like, that's a goal, right?
Exactly, absolutely. How do we use the data to get better?
More responses would be, make a lot of difference.
You say more
I believe
responses?
Responses.
Yeah,
50% of 34, 17.
right, right.
And
Correct.
did any of y'all get calls? I got calls that people didn't trust it. I got several people calling me, I don't trust this. I
Well,
don't,
and
I
that-
don't want this
right.
to be used against a child. And I thought, that's what really, I was a gut punch, because I thought, I
Yeah.
thought we've improved,
Yeah.
but to get those calls.
Improve.
Mhm.
Didn't get any.
And I've puzzled over that. Jamie and I were having a similar conversation today about some employees that I want their honest
Yeah,
opinion, and I can't figure out how to get it
because we don't know what. we
because
don't
they're
know.
afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid to tell me. But I want to know.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking about hot poker. Home to a steak. Tell me the truth. So
Sir.
back to your point,
Mhm.
I would like to have more data. I would, I want people to feel safe telling me
Mhm.
what they think.
Mhm.
You would hope to have 34 just in-house.
Right.
on your survey.
Yeah.
Right.
Much less community.
And I suspect that had something to do with not feeling safe. I mean, feeling like they were gonna be outed
Mhm.
if they responded. I mean, you can. Yeah, and I do this when we have interview committees. I have a rubric. And so if you all were the interview committee, everybody sees that rubric, but I tell them, we're gonna listen, we've got these questions, we're gonna listen to this candidate. And then when they leave the room, you're gonna fill out your rubric. I give them the same color pen. And they, all I gotta do is circle, and they turn it upside down, and I shuffle them. And then we talk.
Yeah.
Cause I don't want someone campaigning for or against the candidate. I want everybody's perspective without being tarnished. But you can't do that with 500 people. I mean, I don't think. And y'all probably dealt with the same thing as commissioners, wanting to. No, it's the same constituents that call you all the time or that catch you at the cafe and wear you out. Usually,
That 17% of red or blue.
you know their name.
Well, there's just gonna be people in this world that are just not happy,
Oh, yeah,
and we
right.
know that.
Right.
What I was gonna say, if you look at Amazon, TripAdvisor, anything that has surveys. The people that are happy are gonna comment, and the people that are unhappy are gonna comment. The middle people that are just okay, they're not gonna say.
Not many.
Because they're okay. It's okay. If you read, it's a 5-star or a 1 or 2-star, and I'm not discounting the survey, but that's generally how our society is. If you're happy, you're gonna comment. If you're unhappy, you're gonna comment. And if you're kind of in the middle, you're just not gonna do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
I just think it's important for our community to know that we want to know this information.
Yeah.
Because that's
So-
what we build from.
Right.
Not trackable either.
So one of the things that we'll do on August 11, 12, and Lacey and I met with one of the ladies from the Reading Center yesterday. It's amazing the number of people that want to scratch on our calendar and tell us how to do things and what to do. But they don't want to come do it for us.
Right.
But we have a district improvement plan, a campus improvement plan, a health plan that we're supposed to develop, an emergency operations plan, all that stuff. My intention is when we come back to work, our faculty comes back to work on August 11, 12, is try to tap their collective thinking on some of these things. But I want to show them this data, and and the research is really clear on this. I know I'm sounding like a professor, but the research is really clear on this. If you have one or two goals, things you say, I'm gonna work on this, then there's a pretty good chance you can move the needle. 3 to 5, maybe.
Yeah.
If it gets beyond 5, it just turns into oatmeal. Nothing happens. So I'm gonna try to use this survey and then those processes to see if we can narrow down and say, okay, where's the bleeding arteries?
Yeah.
Those are the ones we're gonna work on this year. And then if we can get them fixed, then next year we'll have another survey and we'll see if we can address it. It's what you put your attention on. Bottom line, what are you gonna put your attention on? Okay, sorry, too much talk.
Thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
Moving on to teacher incentive allotment strategies and implications.
Yeah, I know Mackenzie has had some exposure to this in relation to her work. Lacey and I met with Regent Center, Dr. Marshall Heron came out 2 weeks ago. And I have told you all repeatedly that TEA, particularly Commissioner Morath, is a huge fan of competitive pay scale, not seniority-based pay scale. And so if you look on the right side of this slide here on the screen, this is what they envision for us. And right now they're telling us we have some flexibility in how we build this grading plan for our teachers. But they all need to be put into one of those categories. And then that's how the money is flowed in accordance to where they land on this, how they got graded and ranked. And as you all know, I've been kind of resistant to this, but they're tying a whole lot of money to it. And I think as teachers become more and more aware of it, and they say, wait, I could be making $20,000 more dollars. Well, they assume that they're going to be the master teacher. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't, I don't know. But it's a competitive pay scale. And man, oh man, as I mentioned before some of you came in here, I don't believe for 1 minute that Commissioner Morath is paying the employees at TEA along these dimensions. I don't think that's happening. And so we're grappling with that, and it has budgetary implications now. And what they're telling us is this: for my entire career, we've been on a 20-step teacher pay scale that the state says here's 0, 1, step 2, step 3, and that you're fixing to vote here in a few minutes on next year's pay scale. And it's built on that. But what they're telling us, next year it goes away. If you have one, you build it yourself, because it's not going to be the state pay scale. Or you can do this. But there's a lot of, they have a lot of, and Kinsey, if you want to contribute to this conversation, you can, but they have a lot of requirements and implications built into it, particularly a lot of monitoring, evaluation mechanisms. And I was told, Lacey and I were told by Dr. Heron when he came out here that Midlothian ISD said, okay, you said we could be flexible. We built it, and they handed it to TEA, and TEA saw that every teacher at Midlothian ISD was a master teacher, and they handed it back to him and said, no, it ain't gonna work. So they say it's flexible and we can customize, but it's one of those deals where it'll be customized only to the degree that they're willing to allow it. So that's what we're looking at.
My understanding is there's so many slots available on each level, essentially. You can't all be master teachers. Is that correct?
That's what I'm hearing. One thing that was particularly alarming for those of you that are going to be in charge of evaluating people is you can move the mark. Like after you've set the mark and you look at it and you're gonna have too many here and not enough here, you can say, actually, the mark is this. And so we can all imagine how that's gonna go over with teachers who have been told what the mark was.
It's like the science grades they're working on right now.
Right. And then the other thing I heard, I talked to a lot of small school people about this because, I mean, there just are different sets of implications there. And so EULA said that the very first year, they wanted it to be fair. And so they wrote a plan painstakingly to make sure every teacher was eligible. And TEA said, nope, you can't make every teacher eligible the first year. So as this rolls, you're looking at, oh, only these 10 teachers even have a prayer at it the first year. And so it's just gonna be sticky, but I listened to Morath speak, and yeah, I mean, this is where it's going. I mean, this is where he wants it to be. And the case he made was, he doesn't think that, the bribe of money makes people want to do better. Because he thinks teachers, he had some media training since the last time I heard him, but he thinks that the additional money will make good teachers want to stay longer, which, I mean, I understand that until you really get into the science of it, and it's, a little bit divisive and polarizing too.
It scares me.
Mhm.
You have a teacher that's trying their best, her
Excellent.
best, his best, whatever. And doing a good job, but he can't move up. What's he gonna do after he's turned down 2 or 3 years?
Right.
What's it gonna do to his self-esteem,
Sure.
Right,
his performance in the classroom possibly?
exactly.
Uh,
Well, and one of the people that in the room that work with me, and have sat in on interviews with me of people that are not teachers, support people. I mean, one of the questions I ask them is, what will our students learn from you that will make them better people? Because the ladies that work in the cafeteria are just as important to the development of our kids as the 5th grade teacher is. And the bus drivers have a role to play in the development of our children. And to me, we're a teaching team, and I'm against it, but it's going to get harder and harder not to play.
It creates a lot of morale issues.
man.
It's what we go through the same stuff at work every year when
Do you?
it's time for evaluations and bonuses and raises and stuff. Everybody's overworked and underpaid to begin with, just like our teachers are. Then why are you better than this one? And it's a stick, like Kenzie said, it's sticky. Sticky.
All right, ready to move on to learning optimization for all. The first is an action item, accept resignations of Justin and Tony Gibson with appreciation for their service to JGISD and well wishes for their future.
I just think it's not required, but I think it's a nice gesture to express for you all to express appreciation to them formally for the service.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignations and wish them the very best as they move on.
All those in favor? Okay. Awesome. Ready for us to move on? The next action item is the TASB update 127.
Okay, this is the part you've been looking for. I'm going to try to make it as painless as I can.
Okay.
But I promise on a stack of bottles, I'm not trying to run anything by you. I'm not trying to sneak anything by you. The 3 documents you can see in that file I've got up there, there's the 460 pages that they sent of all the changes to our legal policy and local recommendations for changes to our local policy. As you know, the legal part's statutory, same for every school district in Texas. Doesn't matter what we think about it, it's just the law now. Some of that has real implications for us, particularly the changes in the testing processes. Those are significant. The ones that have most relevance to our operations on a day-to-day basis here that we have some control over are the ones that have to do with the local policies. And so I'm going to open that document, and that's 22 pages of local policy, which are the ones that we have some say over. And if you opened it and looked at it, what I do is look at those And then I'll just put a note at the top of each one and let you know if I think there's something to be worried about. This one has to do with superintendent non-renewal, which some of you have lived through that process, but some of you may have lived through it more than once, and it's always ugly and almost always negotiated. But bottom line is this local policy says you can get rid of me or any of, well, you can get rid of me because I'm at will if you just tell me to leave. But a contracted superintendent, all kinds of things, including drunkenness or excessive use of alcohol. And I've known some that have done that, and they've recovered and superintendents again. But basically, you can get rid of the superintendent for pretty much anything up to and including wearing the wrong cologne, as long as you document it and establish that that was what you not intended for that person to do in the first place. Whole long list, and for those of you that have lived through the process before, you know that it never really comes to termination. It's always a negotiated divorce at the end of the day. What has changed, decades ago, school districts could buy as many years of a superintendent's contract as were remaining to get them gone. And then, I don't know, 15 years ago, or probably, the legislature said that's not right. And so we're going to put a stop loss on that. The school district can buy 1 year of a superintendent's salary. If they buy more than that, then it's coming off of their school funding. And so that pretty much put a quietus to the 5-year buyouts. Recent changes in law, if I understood it correctly, I think I read it correctly, that it's limited to about 2 months of pay. So they're trying to tap the brakes on that, which is a good thing. I mean, divorce is never good, but sometimes divorce is the best option available. But it's probably not a good idea for one side or the other to get held up by it. Next one, that 4 pages of getting rid of the superintendent. Fiscal management stuff, and we are very fortunate. I told Lacey just yesterday or day before, you know, any of us up here at this school can disappear and it'll keep going, but if she disappears, we're in trouble. And so it's the management of the money, and she does a marvelous job of it. And this local policy basically is a revision of some of the language. Not much, just a little bit of it, nothing new, nothing that I think you should worry about. Fiscal management, here we are on the 3rd page of that. She and I sat through a whole session yesterday about federal awards and how to manage the federal money. There are a lot of checks and balances on the fiscal management of the money. She has to go to a school to be your investment officer. Sometimes the superintendent does as well. And then, of course, you go through your annual audit as well. And then particularly with the federal money, there's pretty heavy oversight over that. And so there's a lot of checks and balances. And then also you all serve as one level of checks and balances too. I know that most of you don't want to look at that stuff and dig into it, but you have the opportunity to. Employment practices, there's not much change at all in this. As you can see, it used to say the superintendent or designee. It just says now the superintendent's the one that's going to post the jobs. Okay. Employment standards of conduct, and this one has a little bit of change. What has changed significantly, and this is just one more step in that, is, I mean, there's not hardly a day goes by that I don't open the news and see of a teacher that's had an inappropriate relationship with a student somewhere, somehow, some way. And what the current law is stipulating is this. When we become aware of that, Jamie and I have to notify TEA, We have to notify the law and we have to notify the parents quickly. No more of that. Let's just sweep this under the rug and maybe Nelson will be gone at the end of the year and we can all play like it didn't happen. No more. And then wrapped into the national debate over diversity, equity, and inclusion and the fights over that, and then the social transitioning stuff, which we see in some states where evidently they've tried to allow some of that stuff behind parents' back. Texas is generally has taken the position the parents have the primary responsibility for their children and should not be shielded from anything related to what goes on with their children. And then drugs, alcohol, tobacco stuff, exclusions for that. And then I know I'm boring you to death. I'll try to go quickly. They changed completely some of the things about principal hiring. They just struck that one completely and refashioned it into a new version, which says a lot of the same things. It's a little bit cleaner, which is kind of unusual. It's not often that they change a policy and reduce the number of words, but that's what they did this time. And so whenever you're looking for a principal, these are the qualifications that now the superintendent is required to post the job. So, and when Jamie and I go through that TPES evaluation system, these are the elements that are embedded in that. When he and I had conversations about his goals and growth and intentions. Similar kind of things with counselors, but for years and years, the counselors as a community and as a professional organization have rightly, in most cases, I think, been felt put upon because they end up having to spend disproportionate amounts of their days on test administration and not counseling. And so they effectively lobbied the legislature to get the language changed so that by law, we can't expect Darla to spend more than 20% of her time doing something other than what they call the Comprehensive School Counseling Program, which is its own kind of monster. Good intent. Gifted, talented. When I was principal here 25 years ago, I rewrote the Gifted Talented Plan, and Carrie and Mary Kate have agreed to be the standard bearers for us on that process. And again, Gifted Talented is a wonderful, conceptually a wonderful idea. Putting wheels on it can get a little messy. And especially when you start talking about how to identify and along what dimensions to identify someone as. Well, I'll give you an example. Someone asked me not too many months ago about Billy Maynard. And I said, he had a little trouble in school, but if everything goes to hell, I want Billy on my team because we're going to eat and we'll be able to defend him ourselves. And so he's gifted in those ways. And so I like to think that every child is gifted in some way or another. But and then there's all the stipulations. What if you gifted students get transferred to the district? Can they get kicked out of the program or suspended temporarily? All that stuff. Gobbledygook. Student welfare. This has to do, as I was mentioning to you earlier, mostly with changes on the attention that we are required to pay and the reporting mechanisms that we're required to engage if we feel like students have been put at risk by adults. I'm done. That's page 22 of 22, unless you want me to keep talking.
I think we're good. So y'all
I
ready
thought
to
you
hear
might
about
say that. So that needs to be in the form of a
an
motion.
action? Yeah.
Yeah, and to approve TASB update 127 as recommended by TASB and the administration. With no changes. would even make it better.
Got it.
Do we need a motion?
I will make a motion to
Okay.
approve TASB 127 as recommended.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Moving on to a discussion item, scholarship research.
This has been on the agenda the last couple of months, and this was part of the conversation. Judge Lane Coulter asked me and Mayor Berkeley to show up a week ago, a Wednesday, for a strategy conversation with him and the commissioners as they were gearing up to meet with the data center people this Monday last, about what things they asked of the data center folks that could be beneficial to the school or the city. And so as I've had conversations with folks around here and with commissioners and with others, one of the things that came up was that Sterling City and Blackwell had pretty unique scholarship models. And so I talked to Brian Shipman there at Blackwell and to Rudy Rudwick at Sterling City about their models. And fundamentally, both of them create scholarships for their students through the use of the agreements that they had with the wind farm people back when school boards could negotiate directly with those wind farm people. And so the models are similar. What the only slight difference is the one I really liked was Blackwell, because what they do is they designate $5,000 for the child for as many years as they are in Blackwell school. So if they come in first grade, then they get $5,000 a year per year for 12 years. So when they graduate, hand them a diploma, they got $60,000 in scholarship money to go school or technical school, whatever. And that's all built into their education foundation. It's not the school district money, it's the education foundation, which is a 501c3 or 501c4. That was the model that I think is the most attractive one. We created an education foundation when I worked at Guthrie, and we have one here that was built when I was the principal, and Mr. Harrell, you were probably on the board at the time, Roy. Mr. Harrell was the superintendent. The bylaws on that, of course, that one was working with a nice pile of money, but what we generate $1,500, $2,000 generally per student when they graduate right now.
Pay the interest that the
Yeah,
account earns.
right. Yeah, and it's spread. Most of the students get an equal account of money, but they get premium points for being a valedictorian, salutatorian, those kinds of things. But nothing like $5,000 per year per the years you're there. And so what I shared with the commissioners and their attorney, Jake Letterly, whose children attend Blackwell, and he told the attorneys, I live just outside the Blackwell attendance zone, but my children attend Blackwell schools. And it's for this purpose. But I told them, I said, as I've puzzled over what the data center might bring to us, could they make a contribution to our state champ monument? Yeah, and I'd be even willing to put a little brand on the pedestal,
Yeah.
Crusoe donated or something. Can they just give us money to put in the M&O budget? Yeah, we can't. I wouldn't, and we'd love to have it, but I don't think we should budget it. I think we should consider it fund balance and rainy day money or close gap money. I've fished around, and it doesn't look like it would be legal for them to put money into the permanent school fund that the county commissioners control. I don't think that's an option. To me, the most attractive thing for the commissioners to ask, and I don't know what they did. I haven't talked to Lane or Turney this week, and they may still be in negotiations as far as I know. But what I told them is, to me, the thing that would probably be most attractive to the data people was to put money into our education foundation. Because one, it's 501c3, they get immediate tax relief from that. And also, it's equitable, under our current bylaws and the Education Foundation, it'd be equitable, pretty equitable distribution across all students, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, or anything else. And it would be something that their name would appear every time you give those scholarships. And if it was a really nice pile of money, then we could look at a model similar to Blackwell's, and which would mean our Education Foundation committee, governing committee, would probably need to come together and take a look at the bylaws in relation to that. So let me shut up. If you got questions, you can ask me. To me, that seemed probably the most beneficial and equitable way for them to help the school out.
I agree 100%.
I agree.
Really.
All right, let's move on. You gonna say something, Roy?
That would be most useful
Yep.
long term for everybody.
Effective and efficient learning operations. So we have an action item approving our consent items, including our May minutes, permanent school fund review, financial reports, and payment of bills. Is there any discussion or questions on those items? Okay, Roy makes a motion to approve them.
Second.
Cody seconded. All those in favor? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next action item. Consider 25-26 budget amendments as presented by administration.
You can see the budget amendments on the screen there, and if you got technical or specific questions, you can ask Lacey about them. It's the budget amendments are basically we originally budgeted this amount of money and we think we missed, so it's a budget correction is what it amounts to, both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side. And you probably, I think what you said, we'll probably have some more next month.
Yes, in the mix.
All right. Do we have a motion? BJ makes a motion to accept these amendments. Roy seconds. All those in favor? The next action item is consider proposed salary schedule for the 26-27.
You have, I put some hard copies because the numbers changed a little bit from what you had in your board packet on the professional salaries. And for some reason, I put in your board packet the one that didn't have the support staff salaries. So you have both of those. And these are estimates right now. I mean, they're close. I mean, the people that have been working for us, we know, we're still looking for a little more data on years of service from Jeremy Holmesley. And then there also could be change, depending on who we hire for that office position to replace Tony. It could be a little more, a little less, depending on who ends up at that job. But bottom line, the professional, what we expect to pay the professional team is 2.213 million. And what we expect to pay the support team is 680,000, or almost 681,000. When you put those together, that's about 2.9 million bucks. And when you look at the summary of finance template word that we predict how much money the state's going to let us operate on, right now it looks in the ballpark of 3.2 million. So what you're looking at, we're asking you to approve $2.9 million worth of salaries. And the state's going to let us, in theory, going to let us play with about $3.1 million to live on, which, I mean, as you know, our budget this year was in the ballpark of $6 million. So, but this is the foundation of the budget. If you approve these salaries, then that's the starting point for Lacey and I to start building the rest of the stuff out. But I'd be glad to let Lacey answer any questions that you have.
Wish you can.
All right, does anybody have questions for Lacey? Do we have a motion to consider this proposed salary schedule?
I'm assuming I need to abstain with conflict on this.
You
one?
should, yeah,
Okay.
you should. I'm glad you thought of it.
Okay,
Forgot.
BJ made a motion,
Roy may need to,
Cody seconds.
yeah.
So abstaining with conflict.
Roy has conflict.
So the three of us.
Yep.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay.
You just spent $3 million.
Hey.
Welcome to my world.
Welcome to your world. All right.
I hope you can do it more expeditiously.
Year over year budget comparison, 2015 to the present.
Yeah, I won't burn up too much of your time. Lacey shared this a similar document last year, and I told her I wanted to share it with you again, and it's on the screen, but it's a nice historical view, starting in 2015-16, where what you can see is what was budgeted, what was earned, and how the district finished. So 15-16, $8 million budget, finished in the hole about 300,000. 16-17, after budget amendments, budgeted 5 million, earned just a tad more, finished slightly in the black. 17-18, 4.5 million budget, finished slightly in the black again. And there's reasons for finishing red, finishing black, and budgeting is, I mean, you're just making your one of my friends says, don't never say an educated guess, always say an informed estimate. So you make an informed estimate, and then conditions sometimes change, either on the revenue or the expenditure side, but it's taking care of the stuff. And then, and Lacey, as I was looking at this, I'm going to ask you, because these budgets are sitting in there in that $5-6 million, $7 million range, and then 23-24, all of a sudden, these things changed. I mean, the original budget was in that ballpark. What happened here?
Large amount of construction, I imagine, and reimbursement from.
From permanent school fund? Okay. Was that the year that that's not the football?
Stadium began.
Oh, yeah, that was about a $5 million deal.
Daycare.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. All righty, and so, and then the current year, and that's kind of the point of this conversation. As you all know, we started the year out thinking, we built a budget expecting to finish in the red, $688,000. At this present time, it doesn't look like we're going to get hit that hard. I think we're, I don't know that we'll come in the black, but I don't think it'll be nearly that red. It'll be nearly that bloody when we finish 2 months from now. And a good bit of that is the benefit of the permanent school fund interest, the available county money. They've already paid us $700,000 of interest money this year to help us. And when I talked to Val day before yesterday, she said there's at least 510,000 more sitting there right now, and then we got 2 more months of interest. And so if you look in the board packet at that permanent school data in the consent item stuff, that thing is sitting at $38 million right now. It's since I came on 15 months ago, it's gained about $1 million per month, which is a good thing. And I think it'll continue. I mean, of course, oil supposedly is depleting. But a lot of that property that we have to the west of us is also being used for solar and wind. And I know the commissioners have entertained another wind company in the last 3 months that's wanted to put a wind farm on Dawson County. So I think the permanent school fund, I mean, it's the goose that lays the golden egg and it keeps laying the golden egg, and it's been a real blessing to us. Ask me questions if you got them.
Hey, let's move on to the 26-27 budget workshop.
Well, all that budget stuff really has to do with that. So you passed the salary, proposals a few minutes ago. We'll begin using that as the foundation. I've told you already that our most accurate and most current view of what the state we think we're gonna be operating on from what the state gives us is we're paying $2.9 million in salaries, and we think we're gonna have maybe $3.2 million to play on. So it means and we'll factor in that available county money, the interest off of the permanent school fund as well. I think we're gonna be, and I'm just giving you a heads up, I think I'll be proposing to you a deficit budget again. Our fund balance is very healthy. It's 15-16 million right now, in that ballpark. So, and as I've said to you all before, in my way of thinking, the fund balance, the way I like to think of it is, I like for 2 years of operating money if the revenue spigot just turned off completely. So with 15 or 16 million, if nobody gave us any money for anything for 2 years, we would be able to do exactly what we're doing, although we would obviously begin trimming stuff off, but
And the interest off of that's no small thing either.
correct. And that interest is, I mean, that's a powerful thing, because that means we can hire 2 maintenance people that Spur cannot. Or, I mean, it's, and like on the county available money, if we finish the year at 1.2 million in interest off of that, I mean, that's a lot of money, a lot of salaries that have a benefit. And again, I know you all know this too. I mean, just like building a softball, baseball field and building the houses and stuff, not having to have a bond election, not going through the political turmoil of that, and also with that thing stacking up each month, currently like adding $1 million a month, but like on the softball, baseball, we'll pay out $250,000 on those draws. Well, we win. We win. I mean, it's a lot of money that's going out for sure, but it's still building principle while we're building the stuff that we think we want. More talk than I wanted, sorry.
All right, tell us about pulling the plug on SHARS.
Well, I've kind of mentioned this to you before, the school health and related services, it's intertwined in our special ed consortium and tied up into Medicaid stuff. I don't want to think it's tied up into Medicaid fraud, but bottom line is, we've had a third-party administrator helping us and the other 6 schools in the consortium for several years, identify kids that are special ed and also receive Medicaid. And they do all the book work and jump through the hoops and stuff and make sure the money flows to the school districts. And we've never been, I don't think we've ever been the recipient of a big windfall of money. But it has over time gotten, when you look at the projections, then it looks like we owe money here if we stayed in. And us and the other districts, I don't know of a single district that's going to stay in. Do you?
I don't know what Spur decided to do for sure, but
Yeah.
others have pulled out.
And Valley in particular, they were relying on that a lot, and now that spigot's dried up on them, so it's put them in a bind as well. So I pulled the plug. financially, it was not in our favor.
Okay, auctions of surplus property.
We're selling stuff. We moved all 5 televisions today. I reduced, the minimum bid on that 27 passenger activity bus. I got nobody biting at 45,000. The thing is, it doesn't have a shoulder harness seats. And so I've reduced the minimum bid to 35,000. It's a good vehicle. But if I have to put shoulder harness seats in it, if my research is correct, I'm looking north of $30,000. Lacey doesn't really want me to get rid of it. She and I keep, having watermelon seed spitting contests over that, but I'm trying to get rid of it. But if we do sell it, then that money goes straight into the M&O funds too, which also works to clean up our deficit budget. But I keep offloading some stuff. We're fixing to offload an old mule, a Kawasaki mule that we can't keep running, and so somebody will load it on their trailer. I might pay them $25. I don't know, but that's it.
All right, track repair and resurfacing, housing, property acquisition, tennis netting replacement, softball, baseball complex, track and field record display.
Yeah, I don't want to wear you out. And we rented a skid steer, and Andy's been doing some ground leveling on that site at 602 Washington where the Weaver house was, and then here by the pool. Both of those houses are in process. The Garcia children are considering the last offer I put on the table, which it's what they ask, so I'll be surprised if they don't say okay. But Frank's the guy that's running point on that. Do you know where he works? I mean, he'll reply to me from Portland, Oregon, then he'll reply to me from Washington DC, and then he'll be in Florida, and I don't know what his work is, but he's all over the place. Replacing the tennis netting on the tennis court is continuing. Last Thursday, they poured footing under the concession stand and under the 2 dugouts on the softball baseball thing, and then it rained Friday morning, but I don't think it did damage to the concrete. But and then Keith told me today that they unloaded a bunch of chain link fencing that's going to go around that facility yesterday. Finally, I gave the green light to Jody Reel yesterday. We've had the big board for our track and field records, and so finally the coaches have said, wait, we think we got all the names, years, and times, distances correct. So I know what's going to happen.
Sure.
As soon as we hang that thing, somebody will say,
Is this a homecoming year?
yeah. But those are the things that are going on.
Them over getting over that, we can say they have dementia.
It's kind of like fish stories, it's like,
Okay, tell us about the track. Did you tell us about the track? Did I miss that?
The latest news on that, when I talked to Joe last week, I guess, because I noticed that they had not peeled the rubber off of the pole vault runways. And he had told me all along that they were gonna come in, get the asphalt relayed and do their stuff, which they've done. And then he said, if I happen to hit a 3-week window in July, that's just perfect, where my crews are available, my equipment available, and it looks like the weather will cooperate, we're going to come in and put the rubber down. He said, if those don't align, we're just going to stay away until you finish football season. And then we'll come in right on the tail end of football season, but it'll be ready for track season one way or the other. But I called him last week. I said, I noticed y'all didn't peel the rubber off of the pole vault runways. He said, yeah. He said, that's because those things are so close to the football field. He said, it's a little safer, a little softer landing spot if, a kid gets run out over there. And he said, it won't take us any time to scrape that off. And I think I've told you all earlier, through all the process, the stuff on the north end of the field that was inside the track, the apron, the high jump apron and those runways and stuff, and all of the jump runways, there were no cracks at all in that stuff. And it's because when they built the football field, they redid the base. It was the base under the track, the running track was the problem. And so they don't have to rebuild the base under those football runways. So that's where we are. I expect to hear from him next week, one way or the other, probably. Whether he,
Fingers crossed for a
Stars
3-week
align.
window.
well,
A good 3-week window.
that would be nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Would be nice.
that would be nice.
Oh,
Had the Target guys trying to talk to me a lot at the deal.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they were like, oh, there's your guy, and that guy. I can't
Was it
remember
Aaron
his name.
Kirby?
Yeah, he was there.
Do you know who that is?
Not really.
I
Oh,
hired his dad to coach here one year.
okay.
Aaron went to school.
He said he
here
went
one
to
year.
school here one year, but
Yeah.
he's a salesman.
Oh, yeah.
But he sure wanted to talk to us
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
And
I've
then he
talked
was
to him
asking,
several times in the
"So
last 2 days.
Why did we not get the track contract?" They said, I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. I was like, I just don't.
He asked
remember."
me and I told him.
I said, I think it was scheduling or something like that, but I didn't commit to anything. That's the exact reason. I was like, I honestly not really for sure.
It's one guy's number.
Yeah.
It's like somebody ended up above us, so.
Right.
No,
So anyway, he was sure excited to talk to somebody from Jayton. So I entertained him for a few minutes and probably something like. So,
I saw their booth and I just kind of turned away.
Same.
I didn't want to get on that.
Smarter than I.
Cody, would you send that to Kenzie and Steph to sign the minutes from that consent agenda stuff? And I think it's,
we have one more discussion item, right? Kent County tax abatement consideration.
I already touched on that when I was talking about meeting with the commissioners last week. That we've already covered that country.
There's that. Executive session? All right. You may
Sorry, I
want to-
talked too much.
Good meeting.
you don't know if you don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
I appreciate your service, all of you.
Thank you.
Yours as well.
Told Jamie this week, I feel like a part of my job is to try to protect you as much as I can.
Thank
You don't get much money for your trouble.
Keep slaying the
We
dragon.
knew what was lining up for,
Yeah.
put the target on their back.
Can we talk about the dress code for future meeting?
All right. I think we need a new policy. That's what we do here. We set policy.
Well, I passed over it, but when we were looking at that update 2127 on the TASB and it was talking about personnel decision, I mean, hiring,
Hiring a
the
principal.
very last item had to do with professional dress.
Oh.
I just kind of skipped
Missed an
over it.
opportunity.
All right.
Well,
Anybody
let's
want to make a
Not
motion?
everybody can wear that. So-
Make a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Kinsey made a motion? All those in, we need a second. Roy second. All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all very much.
Go watch some USA soccer.
Tables ever been turned this way? I remember coming to showers when I was little.